to 7 kinds of mischief!
Gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I do that live every single time. Thank you, because I never put it in the opening, and I can't get back into my opening that I did. So maybe one day I'll record it on there. I don't know, but maybe if I can download it and re-record it. I have no idea. But anyway, greetings!
Greetings.
Good evening, everyone. Luis Sparrow, Purple Valkyrie, Psychodorf 9, Storm Poovis Cuber. Good evening, everyone. Andrew 46 and 2, Dave Bob, my brother from another mother, and of course the brother from another mother that I got sitting here with me, the one and only, the doctor of disaster and destruction, Adega Outlaw, the man with too many titles to his
Too many, but hello everybody out there. Thank you for the hellos in chat. I am kind of watching it. I do want to say something very, very nice to somebody in our community who I deeply appreciate, and she goes unsung. Luis Sparrow and Purple Valkyrie. First, Louise. She noticed some things on my Teesprings and helped alert me to some changes I needed to do. And it seems like a little thing, but to me it was a massively... it was a big deal to me. It was huge, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Purple, she's read some of my stuff ahead of time, and it's helped, and I just had to say thank you to them. Just one of those things. Didn't want to let it go.
That is absolutely excellent. Thank you, guys. This community is so great. It is absolutely wonderful. Thank you all.
Yeah. No, very, very, very much.
And we're going to burn it down tonight. We've got a couple of things for you guys. As always, my partner in crime, the man to the right of me or to the left of me, I don't know which way, ever way the camera is actually pointed, is going to have something for you guys tonight. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to read about something a little closer to home. Different for me, I guess. This is not a story. This is not something that, is off of a website or anything. This is actually a place I used to live that an alien crashed at. I'm not kidding. And it's proof. And I will show you proof.
Wait a second. Were you thinking of this before I showed you the pictures, if anything?
No, I just figured this out just now. I don't even know what your pictures are about.
Dang it.
What did we do? What did we do?
You'll see when I get into it. No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well,
you want me to start?
Yeah, you started.
No, Snowdub.
Snowdub live with a $2 super chat. Skull and tuck and roll. Thank you, brother, so very much. Snowdub live, guys. If you are not subscribed to Snowdub, check him out. Absolutely wonderful guy. The puppets are insane. We've even got a puppet over here in Valhalla that hangs out with all of them. I can't say his name, but yeah, he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. But thank you so very much, Snowdub, for that $2 super chat, man.
Show us on the puppet, Loki. Where did he hurt you?
Oh, God. Anyway, what do you got for us tonight, brother?
Well, we're going back to something, two different topics that I have briefly touched on way in the past here on the show. We've been doing this for a year now, haven't we? I think so.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a year. I think we just a little over a year because I know we were doing it last October.
Right. Well, I've touched on two of these subjects, and we're going to combine them for this one. This is where I was kind of headed. There's a lot of beliefs in odd different things. Well, you guys have heard me talk about remote viewing, and you've also heard me talk about some of the things on Mars. Well, let's get into why I think there's a lot of validity to this, and then we're going to get into some theories about who we are. You can take it or leave it for whatever you want. But anyway, this article, I can't tell you exactly where it came from. Wish I could. It's not a matter of can't, just or won't, just can't. Okay, so I'm going to be reading and jumping a few things because it does get into like, would you like to know more? And click here type thing. So here we go. Well, most of the United States, and to only a very slightly lesser extent, the rest of the world, watched the inauguration of Donald Trump the 17th February 2017. The CIA took a moment to make available to the public declassified documents concerning areas of research that on the surface would be more akin to a script from the X-Files than from government projects. At least the vast majority of it. Okay. Let's see, where do I want to go here? Loki's going to be showing you some pictures. We'll come up against them here and there, but you can take it or leave it. It's not important to really pay too much attention to them. Okay. One account in particular spoke of remote viewing sessions, apparently conducted in May 1984 by a remote viewer who they referred to as the subject. I have an idea who it is, and it's not Ingo Swann, and we'll be talking about him later. For those of you who don't know remote viewing, we'll probably review it again. It is we'll get to the origins of it. After World War II, we know that we were well ahead in the nuclear arms race and some of the rocketeering things here in the United States. But the Soviet Union started to catch up real quick, and no one knew how. They couldn't figure out what they were doing or where the spy was or anything else. It eventually turned out that they were, with some validity and success, were using psychic spies, for a better word, and most of our people didn't believe it here in the States until they started studying it themselves and started working on things to figure out how this actually is practical and would be something usable. Incidentally, I have a niece who was in the intelligence agency. This is kind of funny. They did logic tests, and she had scored the lowest score for logic ever for the Army at the time. And she thought it was funny. They had to do it again the second time. So they figured, well, since she has no logic, we're going to put her into relaying intelligence. She couldn't put two and two together, but she could effectively move data and was really, really good at it. So they weren't worried about her interpreting it. Well, back at the time of Noriega, trying to remember, it wasn't Panama. Either way, it was during Ronald Reagan's time that we had to do an invasion. Maybe it was Noriega. They were looking for this guy, couldn't find him, and they got a group of remote viewers who pinpoint him exactly. This psi war, think of it as almost like a wake dream of where he was. They found him and was able to use it. So they had successes with finding enemy targets, what they were doing, things they were building, and it was used against us as well. Some say that countermeasures have been developed for this. But anyway, the CIA released some documents a few years back about an interesting project. The covering letter from a transcript of the experiment reads, "Method of site acquisition, sealed envelope with geographic coordinates. The sealed envelope was given to the subject immediately prior to the interview. The envelope was not opened until after the interview. In the envelope was a 3x5 card with the following information. The planet Mars, time of interest approximately 1 million years BC. Selected geographic coordinates provided by the parties requested for information were verbally given to the subject during the interview." So the way this remote viewing technique is done, they have one guy who helps the remote viewer along by asking questions. They don't do leading questions because it would destroy the work. All they do is ask questions, and they don't know what the subject is. The remote viewer has no idea what the subject is. It's just in an envelope. That's it. They put a question inside an envelope. They don't open it up until everything's done. So they gave him this thing. Look at Mars, the specific place, 1 million years BC. So let's go on and see what they actually found. After being given the first of these coordinates, 40 by 89 north, 9 by 55 west, being completely unaware of their destination, he responded that he could see pyramid or pyramid form. It's very high. This is in quotes. It's kind of setting in a large depressed area. End quote. He would describe a civilization being present on the planet and a highly advanced technology at the disposal of this society. He spoke of cities of large flat surfaces and very smooth angles, which were very large. I mean, they're megalithic, in quotes. He would also describe a destabilization of the area when he stated, "I'm tracking severe clouds, more like dust storms. It's a geological problem." Now recall, this is released government documents. This is something that really happened. He was then given a series of coordinates each time describing what he saw. These ranged from huge structures and cities inside canyons, which were like rabbit warrens with very high walls, to a structure that resembled the obelisk in Washington, and strange intersecting roads that are dug into valleys, and that was in quotes as well. As the session progressed, however, the subject began to have difficulty focusing on the given coordinates. He was, however, drawn to things of interest. It was decided to let the subject go where he was drawn to, and it was here where some of the most baffling responses were made. He described again seeing huge pyramids which were designed as shelters from storms. He was then asked to enter one of these pyramids and describe what he saw. He responded that there were many different chambers that it was almost stripped bare of any kind of furnishings, and were now a strictly functional place for sleeping or some form of hibernation. When asked to describe who was using the pyramids as a shelter, he responded, "Very large people, but thin. They looked thin because of their height, and they dressed in a real light silk, but it isn't flowing type of clothing. It's like cut to fit. They're ancient people. They're dying. It's past their time of age." He went on to describe that they were waiting for something to return or on someone coming with an answer. When asked what they were waiting for, the subject replied, "A group or party of them went to find a new place to live." This was said, the way this is written, I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch this right. This was, said the subject, due to corruption of their environment. It's failing very rapidly, and this group went somewhere, a long way, to find another place to live. Now, incidentally here, if you guys know, Mars does not have a magnetic field, and if you could imagine losing your magnetic field, yeah, you're not going to survive long. This could have been a catastrophe that happened 1 million years ago, if you believe in such a thing. Apparently the CIA did. He was then asked to describe how this group left, to which he would reply, "It looks like the inside of a larger boat, very rounded walls and shiny metal." The subject was encouraged to go along with them and describe the destination of their journey. He would state, "I get the impression of a really crazy place with volcanoes and gas pockets and strange plants. Very volatile place," which, although familiar to the place that they just left, was mainly different due to the fact that there seemed to be a lot of vegetation where the other place did not have it, and a different kind of storm. At this point, the remote viewing session was brought to an end. And if you think of what the Earth looked like 1 million years ago, it very well could have been. This is actually where the story is going. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Might the subject have been describing Earth 1.5 million years ago? And perhaps more importantly, what became of the party that apparently arrived here, as well as the cities in Cydonia region and Mars? Okay. Now, this part of the story gives you a couple of videos where it describes, I don't know if any of you know what Cydonia is. I know some of you, I'm sure, do, but not all of you will. But think of the face on Mars that was found years ago in the 70s. Well, around there is a whole complex that NASA and a few of the other countries, I think they're all in on it to some degree, are deliberately, and probably not Russia because they've had some probes blown up and they blew it, or they blamed us for it. But there are, you get the high-res pictures, there are pyramids there buried. Sorry about the traffic in the back. There is the face, which nowadays they have it blurred. You can tell it's digitally been altered. Quite a bit of different things. One of the pictures that should be flying up is a picture of what looks like ruins to me, but you can make of it what you think. Anyway, this is the Cydonia area where these pyramids, 4-sided, 5-sided, different things are. The CIA has confirmed that they, at the very least, conducted basic research into remote viewing. However, some believe that their research to have gone much farther than the impression they gave. Now, this is where we get into Ingo Swann. Somewhere in there, that the pictures I gave Loki is a picture of Ingo Swann and his book, Deep Penetration. I know it sounds weird, but the book is awesome. If you ever want to get freaked out, that is some of the things that he saw, some of the things that he did for the CIA. Very, very cool stuff. Ingo Swann, for example, has made numerous claims of remote viewing to the moon and even as far as Jupiter. What perhaps should be noted, particularly in the case of his journey to the gas giant, is some of the information given in 1973 would later be proven very much correct by NASA space probes and analysis. What happened was, back in 73 when he did this, he said he saw rings. The people who were there assumed that he was misguided and went to Saturn. When the probes finally went to Jupiter, they saw indeed there were some thin rings around Jupiter. The coordinates given to the unnamed viewer during the session of 1984 fall in the Cydonia region, which I mentioned, of the red planet. Not only the place where the face on Mars resided, but also, according to a small plethora of researchers and authors, do the remains of ruins of an ancient civilization. What is also interesting about the claims of life existing on Mars millions of years ago is that other claims, apparently independent from these, once classified by the CIA, have leaked. Some of the, I'm not going to get into these because some of them are a little weird. One thing I do want to get into a little bit about the science, where the remote viewer said that these people were tall and thin. Most of you here have probably seen the show The Expanse, and where these belters live in low gravity environments, they become very thin and often very tall. That is a side effect of having low gravity. If you're on before the fall of their magnetic field on Mars, even now with a very low gravity, that a tall, thin human would be the high probability of what would be the outcome of our posterity over generations. So it fits. Let's see. I'm almost done here. I want to get into a little bit more. More recently, propulsion scientist John Brandenburg claimed that there was evidence of a nuclear catastrophe and has happened on Mars distance past, and what's more, had proof of it. Now, some of these claims would also be conducive with a loss of a magnetic field, but we don't know. unless we've been there and no one said anything about it. But there are vast levels of uranium, thorium, xenon 129 in the atmosphere, which is indicative of either a highly nuclear society or some type of catastrophic plasma event in their atmosphere. Let's move on. There is a picture here. It looks like a mountain. I think I sent that to Loki, and below it is a mound, and it's kind of blurry. You can get better images because there's some high resolution images of there, and you gotta. People are debating whether or not it's paraglia, which means basically you see what you want, where it actually matches, because there's several books and some articles about how Cydonia matches an awful lot of what is in Egypt. And the one mound below the giant hill has similar dimensions to what the Sphinx has, minus the head. And that was one of the things about this article. Let's see. Oh, there were some images, and I forgot to get them for you. There is one of the places in Egypt, I can't remember, and I know there's at least one of you who's seen this. In one of the temples, and it's not in Cairo, it's not around the pyramid area, it's in a different, it starts with an A. I'm trying to remember exactly where it is. But if you look high, and some friends of mine went there and did this, high up, some of the hieroglyphics show actually tanks, helicopters, UFOs, those type of things. They're carved in, but they're ancient. But they're plain to us to know exactly what they were, meaning that once upon a time when Egypt was young, there was an advanced society there. And of course, I think most of us all agree that that was the case. Just a little bit of more about Ingo Swann before I close up. Yeah, that's the picture there. I'm off of my article now. That's the picture there. That's Ingo Swann. When he did, and you'll see this in his book, and there's a lot of interesting things which I won't get into if you ever decide to read it. But one thing, when he was viewing the moon, he did it a couple times, and he ran into people that were there, and they were aware enough to notice that he was there and weren't real pleased that he was watching. He claims it was a large base on the dark side of the moon. Without Ingo and without the others that say they remote viewed it, there are evidence from NASA. I have somewhere a recording of some of the soundtracks of they heard music on the dark side of the moon. Really, they called it spacey music. You can hear the recordings of some of the astronauts talking about hearing these different things. Some of the images that come from there. It all collaborates that they're out there. And there are ways for us to see them and ways that have been kept hush-hush by the powers that be of who we really are and the events of things of the past. And again, it doesn't destroy religion. It just kind of broadens your mind of what could have happened. It really doesn't destroy religion. In fact, it makes it more valid. So anyway, there you go. A little bit of history of Mars brought to you by the CIA.
Daybob says, Seti the first temple in Abydos, Egypt. Was that the place you were thinking about?
Seti the first. Yeah, I think he's right. The entrance has giant pillars. They're about maybe 10 meters tall, half a dozen of them. And then you walk in, and then the hieroglyphs are way up on the wall. I wish I had them. Maybe some other time I'll bring them, but it's clear as day, exactly what they are. And you could see the damage that's around them, not on them, where it's easy to tell that they have a patina of thousands of years old. This isn't some graffiti that someone did, like most of Egypt. These pharaohs came along centuries later, and this is my opinion, and I am yet to be proven wrong, where they come in and carve their name on something that somebody else done long ago, trying to claim as their own work. Like the Sphinx, they're covering it up now, but there's evidence of it being way outdate the pyramids.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they're just trying to hide it. They're trying to say, no, the pharaohs built this, but there's no evidence that they did. The only thing that even resembles it is the head, but the way the body and everything is, it wasn't a lion, it was a jackal, and it was a yardang carved out of something that existed there before. So anyway, thanks, Dave Bob. I'm pretty sure you're right about that being Abydos.
All right. Well, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Tonight I'm going to go over something different. This is not something I usually do. So, this is from NBC's DFW5. This won't be that long. I'm not gonna like spend all day here. Because I've got some stuff over on the wiki I want to read to you too. Aurora, Texas, a quiet town in Wise County. City is actually quite small, Aurora City Councilman Jason Preco said. It's only about 6 square miles. It goes up the hill and down the valley, and that's it. It's a hidden gem with a population of about 1,700 people. Where's Aurora? Between Boyd and Rome. Take 287 towards Decatur. Small town is connected to a story that sounds like it's from a galaxy far, far away. In 1897, they had an event where an alien crash landed into a windmill. Crash happened near a site now dubbed Area 114. It's now a photo op landing zone for tourists. But as the story goes, an unidentified flying object and its pilot crashed into a windmill in 1897, 50 years before the Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash. And yes, this is actually there. They actually have this here. Townspeople heard a big crash, and several went to investigate, and they found a wreckage of material they'd never seen before. They found a being which they called not of this world. Articles were written about in local papers. The pilot, described as not of this world, died from his injuries and was given a Christian burial in the town cemetery. Townspeople gave him the name Ned. Ned the Alien. This is the gravesite in Aurora Cemetery with the rock on top. People now visit Ned's gravesite, often leaving behind trinkets, watches, keychains, electronics. Because of the Christian burial, the grave cannot be exhumed for official investigation without permission from next of kin. That permission is unlikely if Ned was not of this world. Still, that doesn't stop people from trying to solve the mystery. They brought it in ground radar. They looked at the gravesite, and they've gone to other parts of the cemetery, and they can confirm something is buried there. It might not be definite proof of Ned the aliens crashing and being buried in Aurora, but it's definitely a good story for business. Of course it is, right? You want to be where the alien, where the alien's at. I would say no less than 20 times a day we get to tell the story, said Sean Merchant, co-owner of Smokin' Windmill Barbecue. Yes, they have a place called Smokin' Windmill Barbecue where they serve an alien dish. Merchant and his business partner opened Smokin' Windmill Barbecue about 2 years ago. Our top selling item, specialty item that we run every day is the UFO. Merchant said it's a poblano pepper stuffed with brisket and cream cheese wrapped in bacon. They're the anchor restaurant for another business called Martian Margaritas. It's an alien-themed entertainment venue. They're out of this world. Martian Margaritas. It's a cool story and great for business, Merchant said. Great for conversation. We like to get to know our guests and everything. And it always gives us an opportunity to meet them if they're new. So the story of Ned the Alien lives on, loved by the locals. We love the town and we love the history of the town with the alien, Merchant said. An alien named Ned, putting Aurora on the map. Pretty interesting, too, to know you live in an area known for an alien burial in your city, Preco said. Not a lot of cities can say that. Okay, so how much of this is real and how much of this is BS? I'm going to
Just
close this down.
interrupting. I certainly hope that alien, well, basically a chili relleno is real, because man, I'm hungry now.
Yeah. And we will be here tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow, either tomorrow or Saturday. So I'm either going to go over there Friday or Saturday, and I'm going to eat at the Smoking Windmill and have a drink at Martian Margaritas. The Aurora, Texas UFO incident occurred on April 17th, 1897. According to locals, a UFO crashed on a farm near Aurora, Texas. The incident, similar to the more famous Roswell UFO incident, is claimed to have resulted in a fatality of the pilot. The pilot was not of this world and was said to be an alien. Obviously, the alien Ned. The pilot was buried at the Aurora Cemetery. A stone was placed as a marker with a grave, but has since been moved. On April 19th, 1897, an article in the Dallas Morning News written by S.C. Hayden described the UFO crash. The UFO is said to have hit a windmill on the property of Judge J.S. Proctor 2 days earlier at around 6 a.m. local Central Time, resulting in its crash. The pilot, who was reported to be not of this world or a Martian, according to a reported Army Signal Service officer named T.J. Weems from nearby Fort Worth. The alien did not survive the crash and was buried with Christian rites by a traveling pastor named William Russell Tabor at the nearby Aurora Cemetery. The cemetery contains a Texas Historical Commission marker mentioning the incident. Reportedly, wreckage from the crash was dumped into a nearby well located under the damaged windmill, while some ended up with the alien in the grave. According to the mystery, adding to the mystery was the story of Mr. Browley Oates, who purchased Judge Proctor's property around 1935. Oates cleaned out the debris from the well in order to use it as a water source, but later developed an extremely severe case of arthritis, which he claimed to be the result of contaminated water from the wreckage dumped into the well. Now, I don't know any kind of contaminated water that would result in arthritis like that. Not that I'm thinking of. I don't know if Adega knows any.
There's a few different chemicals and at the time, arthritis could have meant several different things.
True. As a result, Oates sealed up the well with a concrete slab and placed an outbuilding on top of it. According to writing on the slab, this was done in 1945. The incident has been investigated on numerous occasions. One report was broadcast by local television station KDFW Fox 4, and 2 other reports aired on cable television. The KDFW report, in 1998, Dallas-based Fox-affiliated station KDFW aired a lengthy report about the Aurora incident. Reporter Richard Ray interviewed former Fort Worth Star-Telegram reporter Jim Maris and other locals who said something crashed in Aurora. However, Ray's report was unable to find conclusive evidence of extraterrestrial life or technology. Ray reported that the state of Texas erected a historical plaque in town that outlines the tale and labels it legend. On December 19th, 2005, UFO Files first airs an episode related to the incident titled Texas Roswell. The episode featured a 1973 investigation led by Bill Case, an aviation writer from the Dallas Times, and the Texas State Director of Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. MUFON uncovered 2 new eyewitnesses to the crash. Mary Evans, who was 15 at the time, told of how her parents went to the crash site. They forbade her from going, and the discovery of the alien body. Charlie Stevens, who was age 10, told how he saw the ship trailing smoke as it headed north towards Aurora. He wanted to see what happened, but his father made him finish his chores. Later, he told how his father went to town the next day and saw wreckage from the crash. MUFON then investigated the Aurora Cemetery and uncovered a grave marker that appears to show a flying saucer of some sort, as well as readings from its metal detector. MUFON asked for permission to exhume the site, but the Cemetery Association declined permission. After the MUFON investigation, the marker mysteriously disappeared from the cemetery, and a 3-inch pipe was placed in the ground. MUFON's metal detector no longer picked up metal readings from the grave, thus it was presumed that the metal was removed from the grave. MUFON's report eventually stated that the evidence was inconclusive, but did not rule out the possibility of a hoax. The episode featured an interview with Mayor Brammer, who discussed the town's tragic history. UFO Hunters. On November 19, 2008, UFO Hunters first aired another television documentary regarding the Aurora incident titled First Contact. The documentary featured one notable change from the UFO file story. Tim Oates, grandson of Brawley Oates and the now owner of the property with the sealed well where the UFO wreckage was purportedly buried, allowed the investigators to unseal the well in order to examine it for possible debris. Water was taken from the well, which tested normal except for large amounts of aluminum. The well had no significant contents. It was stated in the episode that any large piece of metal had been removed from the well by a past owner of the property. Further, the remains of a windmill base were found near the well site, which refuted Mr. Pugh's statements from the 1997 Time magazine article that Judge Proctor never had a windmill on his property. We're going to get to that in a minute. In addition, the Aurora Cemetery was again examined, although the Cemetery Association still did not permit exhumation using ground-penetrating radar and photos from prior visits. An unmarked grave was found in the area near another 1890 grave. However, the condition of the grave was badly deteriorated, and the radar could not conclusively prove what type of remains existed. The Land Rover gave them pieces of metal that contained mostly aluminum and an unknown element. That is the key here, ladies and gentlemen. An unknown element. Do you know what it takes to find an unknown element, something not on the periodic table? That is amazing. Now, there is a hoax theory, and this is a theory. This is what I brought up just a moment ago and said I'd get to that, the statement from Miss Pugh's. The hoax theory is primarily based on a 1980 Time magazine interview with Etta Pughs, an 86-year-old Aurora resident who claimed that Hayden fabricated the entire story, stating that Hayden wrote it as a joke and to bring interest to Aurora. The railroad bypassed us, and the town was dying. I can attest to that. The railroad did bypass them. Pughs further claimed that Judge Proctor never operated a windmill on his property, a statement later disputed in an episode of UFO Hunters, which found that they claimed to be the base of a wooden water pump tower constructed around the well. Paranormal researcher Jerry Drake, on April 12th, 2020, episode of Monster Talk Live podcast, challenged that finding, noting the well was clearly a bucket well of modern construction, estimated to be built sometime after 1940, and not a well designed for use with a windmill. So what do you believe? What do you believe, ladies and gentlemen? Do you believe in there that an alien crash landed in Aurora, Texas in 1897? Do you think that it's a hoax? I mean, just the last little bit of that, an unknown element. Imagine finding a piece of a plane and they tell you this has got aluminum in it and then it's got some shit we've never ever seen before. Do you think that came off of a plane or do you think that came off of a UFO?
Well, interesting thing about that, though, is what were the motivations first? And two, how many people were talking about UFOs back at that time, back in the 1900s?
Not a lot.
Right.
Roswell really started that whole thing.
Right. Well, There was the one pilot who saw the flying saucers too. It kind of helped add things. The flying wedges, I should say. I can't remember all the details, but yeah, when you start throwing intangible evidence like an unknown element, oh yeah, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm thinking about it right now. Believe me. That's
I
why.
love
Yeah.
chili
There's
rellenos.
going to be a couple of stops I make when I'm in Dallas. I tell you what. Be a couple of stops I make.
I've heard little details about that story, but that's pretty cool.
There is a whole series of books that a gentleman wrote about the Aurora aliens. There's a whole series of fictional books that he wrote about Ned and the Aurora alien. I'm sure you can find them. I don't remember what his name was. I know I worked at a welding shop at one point. Yes, I used to have a regular job. Where this gentleman would come in and talk, and I was asked, "You know who this fella is?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." "Oh, this is the guy that wrote them books about the Ned alien." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. Here, have one." "Okay, thank you." Just gave me a book, and I went home and read it. And I was like, "Wow, that's kind of cool." All right, kind of shit kickery, but it's kind of shit kickery town. For anybody out there who doesn't know what shit kickery is when you kick the shit off your boots and you say yeehaw.
That's a Texas thing.
That's a Texas thing. Yes, very much. Very much. But if you're ever near Dallas and you've got nothing to do one day, drive out to Aurora. There's nothing there. You're going to be like, why the hell did Loki send me to this one-horse town? Because it is a one-horse town. But there's two things it has. Number one, it has the Aurora alien. Number two, barbecue, and there is a kick-ass pizza joint there. They have got a wonderful cracker thin crust pizza there. One of the best thin crust pizzas you will ever have in your entire life. Yummy, yum, yum. That's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we got. Do you
All
believe
right.
aliens? Well, Jim Mars, that may be him. Yes, that may very well be him. Looks like a shit kicker. Cowboy hat. Yeehaw! We're going hunting aliens. All right, guys, we're gonna be talking about the Space Above Beyond. We've only got so many episodes left. We've only got 6 episodes left, and then it's over. And then we're gonna talk Firefly, and then that's it for the retro review, guys. It's gone. It's out of here. It's seen its last days. Thank you so much for being here. Lady Mist, have you ever in all your research and reading come across people in blue light? The I don't know about Adega, but there was the gentleman that got hit by lightning, and he saw a city bathed in blue light, crystalline city bathed in blue light, and he went from a alcoholic, womanizing wife beater to like the Christianest Christian guy you will ever meet in your entire life after that. So that one. What about you?
It's vaguely familiar. There's something from way back when in my head somewhere, but I can't recall. So I'd have to say no, simply because I can't remember it, but it sounds familiar.
I think it was like Saved by the Light. Lady Miss, not that stupid movie. No, that guy's real. I know there was a dumbass movie about it, but that guy's real. Yeah, ball lightning. That, yes. Ball lightning.
Seen that. I have seen that.
The S3 Viking my dad used to fly. He told me about how they were up. They were moving through a patch of storm clouds when the front of the plane was hit by lightning, and a ball of light traveled from the front of the plane slowly, and everybody's like, don't move, don't touch it, don't get in its way. It went from the front of the plane all the way back to the back, and when it hit the back, it went out the back tail, and there was black scorch marks all over the back tail of the plane when they landed.
Very fortunate that thing didn't ignite something on the plane.
That's right. Lady even says some people that visit kids at night surrounded, but that's some creepy shit. Mm-mm. Yeah, Eric Roberts, thank you, fat ass. That guy. Ball lightning is creepy. All right, guys, we're gonna be back with Space Above and Beyond. Thank you so very much for being here. And then we're gonna be at the con all weekend, so you'll get some video from me, probably some video from Mexican Iron Man. But the video you will not get is two people running at each other in a field of flowers in slow motion, embracing. That's not gonna happen, no matter what anybody says. Take care. Have a great.
Quick thing, if you don't mind. I'm just throwing this out there. I think Purple linked it. It's just AdegaOutlaw.com. I've got tired of waiting. I know people keep asking when. Springs or Teesprings allows for digital or ebooks to be printed or be put there. You don't get anything tangible, but if you want to read my stuff, I'm starting to post it there. And you can get it. And on the pricing's based on size and nothing else, which has taken me more longer than the other. So, yeah, if you're interested, it's there. Best sci-fi you're going to read anywhere.
Absolutely.
And then eventually the Fantasy Blood, which will be there eventually. I'm pretty sure. We'll see. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
Absolutely. AdegaOutlaw.com. Check it out. The link is in chat, guys, and the link will be in the description of this video. I will go back and add it just in case anybody wants to catch it after the fact and for some reason the chat's not there. Guys, take care. Have a great one. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter. And go check out Adega store. Have a great night, everybody.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.